Today we are going to talk about grit. Hello, I'm Prachi Pratap. Welcome to my podcast and audio articles. Grit is consistency of effort in an endeavor to accomplish a set goal. The more we practice, the better we get. Talent is not a prerequisite for success, however, one can become talented. What is needed is consistency at what you do. However, first is to know your purpose, the goal you have in mind, and then practice it. Grit is having a goal, holding that goal in your vision every day, and working consistently towards achieving that goal. Keep a schedule for the day. Do time blocking. Instead of I will work out, break it down to I will work out at 6 a.m. every day for half an hour. Even if you fail or fall, you get up and work at it again. Habits are formed by consistency, and they can come into play on days you lack motivation. Because let's accept the fact, none of us are motivated every day. Do you think your favorite cricketer or athlete has motivation every day to practice? No. They become who they become due to grit. Stephen King's first book, Carrie, accumulated at least 30 rejection slips before it was accepted by Doubleday. J.K. Rowling was rejected many times. So consistency of purpose is important. But what do philosophers have to say about it? There's a very famous doha or verse by a famous Hindi poet, Kabir Das ji. Karat karat abhyas te jarmati hot sujan, rasri avat jagte sil par padat nishan. He wrote these lines after observing how the rope, which rubbed against the stone of the well, left a mark on it. What he meant by this was that when you practice something regularly, you become skilled at it. He realized that regular practice is the one thing that makes a person proficient in whatever they decide to excel in. Learning hence was not a subject of intelligence, and success was not about luck, but gaining expertise by regular, consistent practice, or simply put, repeated, consistent action. Children are wrote to read their multiplication tables, and with daily reading, they memorize it. Eventually, basic maths multiplication can be done mentally. For grit, you have to step out of your comfort zone. There are days you won't feel good emotionally, you may lack motivation, but get up and show up anyway. Most athletes were not born with innate talent, but they cultivated it by persistent daily practice. Do what you have to do to achieve your goal. The persistence, or as Angela Duckworth says, deliberate action is what makes grit. Friedrich Nietzsche, in his book Human All Too Human, said something very important which adheres to grit. He wrote, all geniuses had that diligent seriousness of a craftsman, learning first to form the parts perfectly before doing to make a great whole. They took time for it because they had more pleasure in making well something little or less important than in the effect of a dazzling whole. For example, it is easy to prescribe how to become a good short story writer, but to do it presumes qualities which are habitually overlooked when one says, I don't have enough talent. Let a person make 100 or more drafts of a short story, none longer than 2 pages, yet each of a clarity such that each word in it is necessary. Let him write down those anecdotes each day until he learns how to find their most concise, effective form. Let him be inexhaustible in collecting and depicting human types and characters. Let him contemplate the motives for human behavior and disdain no hint of information about them, and be a collector of such things day and night. In this diverse exercise, let some 10 years pass, and then what is created in the workshop may also be brought before the public eye. You can take example of some of the greatest monuments or some of the monumental works of literature. They were not created overnight. There were many rough drafts, and then the masterpiece came into being. Some of the greatest monuments, like Taj Mahal, was built in 22 years. Some of the greatest pieces of literature were not written overnight. However, it took attention and deliberate work to write them. Dedicated time each day for an activity will help you form a habit when you no longer need motivation to do the activity. It could be walking every day, reading for half an hour, or even writing daily, supposedly if you wish to be an author, or practicing a musical instrument. Remember, as children, we all revised our alphabets till they were committed to memory? Brain is a muscle which gets stronger with practice. The psychologist Tom Watt points out that when we think about anything, we follow the path of least resistance. In fact, the brain takes the path of least resistance every time. Our brain is always making reference to the past. The science of neuroplasticity, which has discovered that the mind can change the brain and new neural pathways can be developed to change old habits and behavior. So when we are learning a new instrument or learning a new dance move, we are retraining our muscles and we are retraining our brain. And that is grit. Consistency and grit complement each other. Do not count on motivation every day. Rather, do an activity with purpose to attain your goal, even if you fall and fail. It is daily action to achieve our long-term goal to be better than today. In Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle talks about virtue, which basically means excellence. He writes, "The virtues are formed in a man by his doing the actions, as it is not one swallow or a fine day that makes a spring. So it is not one day or a short time that makes a man blessed and happy." The virtues then come neither by nature nor against nature, but nature gives capacity for acquiring them, and this is developed by training. So Aristotle's basic premise was, virtue can be learned only by constant practice. He further wrote that for by building well makes good builders, and building badly makes bad ones. Otherwise, no teacher would be needed, but everyone would be a born good or bad craftsman. He has emphasized that virtues or excellence, or what we can say mastery, arise from habit or a process of habituation, which is doing something over and over again. Do you know the times when we give up right before brink of success, or make less effort and expect grand results? You can't be haphazard in your efforts or in your plan. You want to learn a new language? You can study for a week or a month and stop. That way you won't learn a language. You have to learn over a period of time, practicing every day. You want to lose weight? You work out one day, 1 hour, then a break for 4 days, then 10 minutes walk one day, then a crash diet, then daily yoga. Gradually cut down 10 minutes a day and stop working out for a month. Then start to work out again. Now that haphazard plan is not going to get you anywhere. However, if you commit to even 20 minutes workout a day, you will notice a significant change in your physical health as well as mental well-being. Now let's look at what Socrates had to say about grit. He wrote, "If the young guardians of the republic imitate anything they must imitate right from childhood, what is appropriate for them, that is to say, people who are courageous, moderate, pious, free, and everything of that sort. On the other hand, they must not be clever at doing or imitating illiberal or shameful actions, so that they won't enjoy the real thing from imitating it. Or haven't you noticed that imitations, if they are practiced much past youth, get established in the habits and nature of body, speech and mind?" All these great minds talk about consistency. However, Socrates is apt to point out that wherever we put our focus, that is what we are going to get better at. If we focus on some bad habits, we are going to hone those. And if we focus on the good ones, we are going to get better at those. Then there is another concept, which is often not talking about, but that thought is consistency a virtue of a fool? Why would consistent effort be a bad thing? Mark Twain said in his speech There are those who would misteach us that to stick in a rut is consistency and a virtue, and that to climb out of the rut is inconsistency and a vice. What then is the true gospel of consistency? Change. Who is the really consistent man? The man who changes. Since change is the law of his being, he cannot be consistent if he stick in a rut. Break old patterns and get into new. That is what is meant by consistency here. Jordan Peterson wrote, "Don't practice what you don't want to become." Now, does that thought shake you? How often we do things and become the results of our actions? That daily extra dose of sugar and soda causes obesity. So if you want to be fit and healthy, then why have sugar when it makes you fat? Your actions make you who you are, and your consistent actions make you good at who you are. Do dysfunctional habits resonate with this? Mindless browsing on phone until it becomes a habit that steals focus and robs us of our time? Do you want to be more focused but you're constantly procrastinating? Do you want to be an early riser but consistently stay up late, spending time on screen, go to bed late and wake up late? Yes, consistency is a virtue of a fool depending on which loop you are in. So life gives us the option of focusing on something good, a small good habit, and following it through with consistency or grit, or staying in the rut. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Do share your feedback and do subscribe to it. Have a great day.